Good morning. My name is Stephen Beneteau. I'm outgoing director of the Ontario Geological Survey. Welcome back, everyone, to day 2 of the 2023 Groundwater Open House. Due to the closure of the University of Waterloo, we have had to pivot to a virtual venue for today's event, along with a small meeting room in the Inn of Waterloo, where we've got our student posters, and we've got, like Kayla said, got some snacks and got some coffee, and it's a great room to converse with and share geoscience. So I encourage you, if you're in the neighborhood, by all means, please drop by. We have an exciting full-day program packed with a variety of talks ranging from groundwater modeling to geochemistry, outreach, and communications. I also look forward to an engaging discussion panel this afternoon focused on the evolving role of hydrogeologists play in our society. For those attending in person at the Inn of Waterloo, I encourage you to browse the posters around the venue and engage with the students who've taken time to share their groundwater-related work, projects, and studies. For those joining us online, during breaks in today's in-person agenda, we will have a slideshow running in the background showcasing the posters at today's event. A significant quantity of diligent work and methodology and planning has gone into coordinating and delivering this year's event. I would like to take this time to thank and congratulate the organizing team for their diligence and commitment to ensure this event's continued success. And a particular acknowledgement is extended to Kayla Calmo and Abigail Burt for being able to migrate this event from an today's event from being in person to a virtual one within a matter of hours. I'd also like to acknowledge the expert skills of the virtual production team, which is the one-man show of Rob Irwin, for ensuring that a smooth webcast goes out to our virtual audience. Thank you, Rob. We have seen significant success by hosting the open house on a virtual-only basis over the last 2 years. It has increased the size of the audience and most notably has extended the dissemination and sharing of extremely valuable groundwater geoscience information across the province. Alongside that, there are also great benefits in getting together in person, from seeing familiar faces to quick chats and follow-up discussions that can't be easily facilitated in a virtual webinar environment of this size. And so, we are bringing you the best of both worlds in 2023. With that, I invite you to meet with me here today or to reach out by email to discuss Ontario Geological Survey's data, products, opportunities for collaboration, and services. As some of you may be aware, I have announced my retirement as director of the Ontario Geological Survey this year, and so this marks my final year of giving opening remarks at this open house. I am grateful for the opportunity of being a part of the open house since 2020. I strongly support the mission of the open house, that is to keep the groundwater community informed and connected, and I wish you all the best in future meetings. As always, thank you for your interest in the Ontario Geological Survey and your participation today. I hope you enjoyed today's program. I would like now to pass it over to Don Ford of the Toronto and Regional Conservation Authority. Don?
Thank you, Steve. On behalf of the Conservation Ontario geoscientists, I would like to welcome all of you who now get to enjoy today's sessions from the comfort of your own home or offices. We have been proud partners of this event for several years and applaud all those who continue to expand our knowledge and understanding of the hydrogeology of Southern Ontario. When I started working at Toronto and Region Conservation Authority back in 2002, geoscience was an emerging area of expertise at conservation authorities. Over the past 21 years, we have both increased our numbers and expanded our efforts in data collection, numerical modeling, and regional hydrogeological assessments. We have worked with both the Ontario Geologic Survey and the Geological Survey of Canada to increase the scope, scale, and impact of our projects, and thereby deliver better outcomes for our clients. We have collectively come a long way since the 1904 Texas Supreme Court landmark ruling on groundwater interference that stated in part that because the existence, origin, movement, and course of such waters and the causes which govern and direct their movements are so secret, occult, and concealed that an attempt to administer any set of legal rules in respect of them would be involved in hopeless uncertainty and would therefore be practically impossible. Yes, we've come a long way, but there is always room to expand our knowledge of the subsurface and the occult science of groundwater. In sharing our data, knowledge, and ideas, we all become stronger. My hope is that the insights and wisdom of our speakers will help you on your own hydrogeologic journeys. I now turn the screen over to Natalia, the Ontario representative for the Canadian National Chapter of the International Association of Hydrogeologists, an important sponsor of today's event. So over to you, Natalia.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for such an incredible event. On behalf of IH, I would like to extend our thanks to all participants and presenters and organizing committee and organizers of this fabulous event. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for being so prompt to change this from virtual from in-person event to virtual. Unfortunately, the weather conditions prevent us from meeting everyone in person, which I personally was looking forward very much. And with that, I would like to welcome everyone and say that IHCNC supports this event for a number of years, and it is an incredible opportunity for Southern Ontario hydrogeological community to get together and get heads-on all information and news what's going on from in the public sector and in regulators and OGS and Canadian Geological Survey information. Thanks a lot. Simple and little update from IH. As you might know, the AGM was held yesterday on February 22nd as a virtual for 2023 annual general meeting, which was virtual, as I mentioned. There is an upcoming conference which is going to take place in Saskatoon in between October 1st and 4th this year. The abstract submission is extended until February 28th, so it's coming up. The registration for this particular event will be starting on March 15th this year. And we are looking forward to see you in Saskatoon, local organizing committee in working fiercely for participating and organizing this event in Saskatoon, and IHCNC, as you know, will be joining the Canadian Geotechnical Society in this event. As I said, IH is proud and honored to sponsor this Ontario Open House for a number of years, and I would like to encourage you and thank you for those who extended their membership and support for IHCNC. And I would like to remind you, please renew your membership. Your support is highly appreciated. Sorry. And with that, thank you very much. And I wish everyone to enjoy this particular excellent event of Open House in Southern Ontario. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. And thank you, Steve and Dawn Ford, for your opening remarks. I'd like to welcome next Darla Bennett, Indigenous Geoscience Liaison with the Ontario Geological Survey, to deliver today's land acknowledgement. Go ahead, Darla.
Thanks so much, Kayla, and thank you all for being here. So as we start the second day of the Groundwater Open House, I wanted to take a moment to share some background on a single Indigenous perspective of water that I have learned over the past few years. The Ojibwe word for water is nibi, and the Ojibwe view water as sacred. Women are the traditional caretakers. I was lucky enough to be part of a water blessing during a sunrise ceremony this past summer, which involved prayers for the water and then sharing and honoring the water present with all participants in that sunrise ceremony. The Ojibwe have a law for water, but it is unlike many laws you may be familiar with. There is no set punishment if you break the law, but an Ojibwe person understands the consequences of breaking the law on themselves, their communities, and their future ancestors. And they make a conscious choice every day to honor and respect the water and all that it does for them. So with that being said, I'll jump into the land acknowledgement. The Tri-Cities and surrounding regions are some of the most densely populated areas in what we now call Canada. and that is no surprise. In this geographical area, we have rich farmland supported by minerals from the escarpment. We have a relatively moderate climate, today aside perhaps, abundant fresh water and all that goes along with that, recreation, food, water supplies, energy, and we have such a diverse plant and animal population that supports and sustains human life. We have unique, beautiful physical features to enjoy in various ways, and I was born and raised here, and I love this place very deeply. It is likely no surprise that settlers were not the first to discover and prosper from all this area offers. The area has been home to numerous Indigenous people since time immemorial, and they lived, worked, played, and cared for this land in ways that honored the Earth's cycles. We are on the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee, a group of Indigenous people that include the Mohawk, Onondaga, Oneida, Cayuga, Seneca, and Tuscarora. The Haudenosaunee formed the longest-standing participatory government on Earth, the Six Nations Confederacy, over 500 years ago, and it is still in place today and is centered around ideals of equal participation by all nations and genders without discrimination. They believe true governance is best when all voices can be heard and considered, and the United States Confederacy was in part modeled on the Six Nations Confederacy. Today, the Six Nations of the Grand River still honor their confederacy and uphold those ideals. They still care for the land that has supported them, their ancestors and settlers, for all these years. I wish to honor their ability to create systems of governments that are models for democratic societies in which we all live and prosper from. I want to thank and honor their commitment and dedication to the land that supports us all in this area. The Anishinaabe, in particular the Ojibwe, also inhabited this area. Mississaugas of the Credit is the current Anishinaabe community in this area, and we are on their traditional lands today. The Anishinaabe played an essential role in the survival and success of settlers to Canada. Known for their skill in navigating forests, tracking, and hunting, they were critical to Canada's participation in the First and Second World Wars. I want to thank them for generously sharing their skills for a cause that shaped the world as we know it. These skills, as well as their community values of sharing, generosity, kindness, and openness, allowed early settlers to learn about this area, to survive, and eventually thrive. The Ojibwe have an oral history known as the Seven Fires Prophecies. Passed down orally for hundreds of years, one of the prophecies tells of the coming of the white man. The prophecy said that if the white and red men shared their knowledge and worked together on this lands, great things would happen here. It is also said that there was a possibility of great destruction of the earth should the two not work together. It is my hope that we are moving toward the former, even if it took many, many years to start the process. The Wendat and Attawandarons lived in this area pre and post contact. The Wendat, also known as the Huron by some, were some of the first Indigenous groups involved in the fur trade with the French. They took French missionaries into their communities and integrated them into their life, teaching them about the world as they knew it, and enabling those missionaries to share their language and customs. They were essential to the survival of early settlers and to the prosperity of Europeans involved in the fur trade. The Attawandarons, also known as the Neutrals, were said to be numbered at 40,000 people in over 40 separate communities in southern Ontario pre-contact. Wendat population estimates were even higher. Both of their communities were mostly lost due to post-contact due to disease, unequal access to firearms to communities dealing with the French compared to those communities dealing with the English, and the subsequent Beaver Wars. Some of those who remained were taken into Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe communities and became part of those, and so their ancestors still live on here in this area in those communities. The cities of Kitchener and Waterloo belong to the Between the Lakes Treaty, number 3. This treaty was signed in 1782 on December 7th, nearly 240 years ago. The treaty covers over 3 million acres of land, and the intention was to allow the coexistence of Indigenous and settler groups on this land forever. Treaty 3 lands include the cities of Kitchener, Guelph, Hamilton, Burlington, London, St. Catharines, Woodstock, Grimsby, and others. all residents of these 3 million acres are between the lakes Treaty 3 people. I encourage you to look up and read this treaty if you haven't already, because we are all bound to it if we live and play in this area. Of equal importance to Indigenous communities in this region is the covenant, Dish with One Spoon. This covenant has been law in Indigenous communities in the area since the 12th century. It refers to the idea that all people in a given territory must share the resources in this area. Because of this, no group or person should take more than their fair share, because we are all sustained by that one dish, and therefore we should all use only one spoon to eat from that dish. And we must allow others that same opportunity and respect, as well as our ancestors that are to come. This law attempts to ensure adequate resources now and for many, many generations in the future. The covenant covers modern-day Ontario, Quebec, and New York, and is often closely associated with the Great Peace Treaty, signed by the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee nations in Montreal in 1701. There was a wampum made to commemorate this law, and I encourage you to look it up and learn about it. To conclude, I want to acknowledge that we are on lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe Nation that lives here, and the Six Nations of the Grand River, the Haudenosaunee community which lives in this area. I want to thank them for allowing us space and for all their ancestors did to ensure habitation and survival of settlers. I want to remind us all here that we are treaty people and must adhere to the laws laid out in those treaties. Colonization has been to settlers' advantage and to the disadvantage of Indigenous people across Ontario. I encourage you all to learn about the history of Indigenous groups in your area and the harm that colonization has had and still does have on Indigenous groups, and to spend some time learning about the treaties in your respective area. Land acknowledgements are a small part of reconciliation, and work needs to be done by all of us to create a path forward that honors Dish with One Spoon and respects the concepts in the 7 prophecies. Thank you.